My name is Marcus Hayes, 26 years old and fresh out of a psychology degree that cost more than I'll ever make back. At least that's what my dad always said. He never understood why I didn't follow him into construction. Real work, he called it. But I knew from a young age that I wanted to help people in a different way. I grew up in Oak Hollow, a small town where everyone knew everyone's business. My mom left when I was 8. Dad never talked about it, and I learned not to ask. High school was tough. Being the quiet kid with hand-me-down clothes made me an easy target. But Ms. Winters, my guidance counselor, saw something in me. She was the first person who ever really listened when I talked. The way she helped me through those years made me want to do the same for others. College wasn't easy. I worked nights at a gas station to pay what my scholarships didn't cover. Barely slept. Barely ate anything that didn't come from a vending machine. But I made it through. Then came the job hunt. Turns out psychology degrees are a dime a dozen these days. 4 months of rejected applications later, I was back at my childhood home, sleeping in my old bedroom with the same faded posters on the walls. Dad tried not to say, "I told you so," but his eyes said it every morning over breakfast. That's when I saw the posting for the Dusk Line Support Center. They needed overnight phone operators at their suicide prevention hotline. The pay wasn't great, but it was something, a step toward what I actually wanted to do. Plus, who else was going to hire someone with zero real-world experience? The building was old, tucked away downtown between a closed-down laundromat and a pawn shop. The interview was brief. The director, Dr. Amelia Voss, barely looked at my resume. She just asked if I could handle night shifts and difficult conversations. I said yes to both. "There are rules," she told me. "Very specific rules. Follow them exactly." I nodded, thinking they'd be the usual confidentiality agreements, reporting protocols, standard stuff. I was wrong. When she handed me the rule sheet, I almost laughed. It seemed like a joke, the kind of thing you'd find on some internet horror forum. But Dr. Voss wasn't smiling. "Every rule exists for a reason," she said. "Break them at your own risk." I needed the job. I signed the contract. That was 3 weeks ago. Tonight is my first shift alone. The night shift at Duskline Support Center starts at 11 p.m. I arrived at 10:30, giving myself time to settle in before taking over from Jade, the evening operator. The center occupied the 3rd floor of the building, accessible only by a narrow staircase that creaked with each step. The elevator had an out-of-order sign that looked like it had been there for years. "Hey, new guy," Jade said when I walked in. She was mid-40s with curly red hair pulled into a messy bun. Her desk was covered in little trinkets, worry stones, fidget toys, a tiny cactus. "Quiet night so far, only 3 calls." I hung my jacket on the coat rack and set my coffee on my desk. "Good. Give me time to get comfortable." Jade snorted. "Don't get too comfortable. The weird ones always come after midnight." She gathered her things and headed for the door. "Remember the rules." Yeah, I've got them memorized." She paused at the doorway. "I'm serious, Marcus. The rules matter." After she left, I pulled out the laminated card Dr. Voss had given me and read through the rules again. 1. Answer all calls within 3 rings. 2. Always state, "Duskline Support Center, how can I help you tonight?" 3. Never give your full name, first name only. 4. If a caller asks what time it is, check your personal watch, not the office clock. 5. If a caller says they're calling from Aspen Road, transfer immediately to extension 5. 6. If a caller only breathes and says nothing for 30 seconds, hang up. 7. If you smell lilacs during a call, end the conversation as quickly as possible. 8. Never answer a call that comes in at exactly 3:33 a.m. The rules seemed odd, but Dr. Voss insisted they were part of their proven methodology. I figured every place had its quirks. The overnight shift paid an extra $2 an hour, so who was I to question it? The office itself was small. 2 desks with phones, A tiny break room with a mini fridge and microwave and a bathroom. No windows. The walls were pale blue, probably meant to be calming, but the fluorescent lights gave everything a sickly hue. My first call came in at 11:45 p.m. Duskline Support Center, how can I help you tonight? I don't know if I should be calling. A young woman's voice, shaky. That's okay. You already took the hardest step by calling. What's going on tonight? She told me about her boyfriend who'd left her, her job that was slowly crushing her spirit, the pills she'd been saving. Classic cry for help. I went through the usual steps, getting her to talk, identifying her supports, creating a safety plan. By the end of the call, she agreed to flush the pills and call her sister to come stay with her. A textbook case of what I was trained to handle. The next 2 hours passed with routine calls. A teenager fighting with his parents. An elderly man who couldn't sleep. A college student stressed about finals. Nothing I couldn't handle. At 2:17 a.m., things got weird. The phone rang, and I answered with the script. Duskline Support Center, how can I help you tonight? Silence, then heavy breathing. Hello? Are you there? More breathing. Remembering Rule 6, I started to count. At 28 seconds, just before I was about to hang up, a voice came through. What time is it there? The voice was deep, raspy. I glanced at the large wall clock, which read 2:18 a.m., but Rule 4 flashed in my mind. I checked my watch instead. 2:13 a.m. Strange. A 5-minute difference. It's 2:13 a.m., I answered, glad I'd followed the rule. A long pause followed. Good boy, you checked your watch. The voice changed, became smoother, almost pleased. Can I tell you a secret, Marcus? My blood turned to ice water. I hadn't given my name. I'm calling from Aspen Road. Do you know what that means? Rule 5. Transfer to Extension 5. My fingers fumbled with the buttons. Wait, the voice said. Don't you want to know what happens to the ones who don't follow the rules? I hit the transfer button. The line clicked, then went dead. My hands were trembling as I wrote up the call log. How did they know my name? And why was the clock wrong? At 2:45 a.m., Dr. Voss called to check in. I mentioned the strange call and the time discrepancy between the wall clock and my watch. Never trust the office clock, she said flatly. Time works differently in that building at night. What does that even mean? I asked. It means you followed the rules, and that's good. Always follow the rules. She hung up before I could ask more questions. By 3 a.m., I was jumpy. Every creak of the old building made me look up from my desk. I decided to make a fresh pot of coffee in the break room. As the coffee brewed, I heard a faint tapping sound. Tap, 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 like fingernails on glass. But there were no windows. I followed the sound to the bathroom door, which was slightly ajar. The smart thing would have been to ignore it, but curiosity got the better of me. The bathroom was tiny. Just a toilet, sink, and mirror. Nobody there. The tapping had stopped. I washed my hands and face, trying to shake off the unease that had settled over me. In the mirror, my reflection looked tired. Dark circles under my eyes. Pale skin under the harsh bathroom light. As I reached for a paper towel, I noticed a small piece of paper tucked into the corner of the mirror frame. It was a handwritten note. 3:33 is when the phone line connects to somewhere else. Don't answer. B. Back at my desk, I tried to distract myself with paperwork. Who was B? Another operator? A former employee? The phone rang at 3:15 a.m., a woman sobbing about her son who had disappeared 3 days ago. I talked her through some coping strategies, gave her resources for families of missing persons, standard protocol. 3:28 a.m., a young man, drunk, contemplating jumping off a bridge. I kept him talking until he agreed to call a cab home. 3:32 a.m. I watched the clock with growing dread. The red digits changed to 3:33, and right on cue, the phone rang. 1 ring, 2 rings, 3 rings. Rule 8. Never answer a call that comes in at exactly 3:33 a.m. 4 rings, 5 rings. The ringing stopped. The silence that followed felt heavier than the sound. Then the phone rang again immediately. I checked the time. 3:34 a.m. Safe to answer. Duskline Support Center, how can I help you tonight? Hello? A small voice. A child. Is this the helpline? There was no protocol against taking calls from minors, but something felt off. Yes, this is a helpline. How old are you? 8. My mom told me to call this number if I ever felt scared. Are you scared right now? Yes. The child's voice dropped to a whisper. There's someone in our house. My training kicked in. Are you somewhere safe right now? Hidden? I'm in my closet. The whisper grew even quieter. They're looking for me. Is there an adult with you? Can you call 911? Mom's not moving anymore, and they cut the phone line. I'm using Mom's cell phone. I pulled up the emergency protocol on my computer. What's your address? I can send help. The child gave an address across town. I used my personal cell to call 911 while keeping the other line open. Stay quiet, okay? Help is coming, I assured the child after dispatching emergency services. Can you tell me your name? Lily, the small voice replied. Are you going to stay on the phone with me? Of course, I'll stay right here until help arrives. Thank you, Marcus. My heart stopped. I hadn't given my name, just like the earlier caller. How do you know my name? A giggle came through the line. Not a child's laugh, but something else entirely. I know lots of things. I know you're all alone in that old building. I know the clock on your wall is wrong again. And I know you shouldn't have answered at 3:33. I looked up at the wall clock. It still read 3:34 a.m. But my watch said 3:33 a.m. exactly. I'd answered a 3:33 call. That's not possible, I whispered. Rules exist for a reason, the voice said, no longer childlike, but deep and hollow. But now that we're connected, maybe you'd like to play a game. I hung up. My hands shook so badly I knocked my coffee cup over, spilling it across my desk. As I scrambled to clean up the mess, the scent of lilacs filled the air. Rule 7. If you smell lilacs during a call, end the conversation as quickly as possible. But I'd already ended the call. So why did I smell lilacs? The phone rang again. I stared at it, frozen. Then I remembered Rule 1. Answer all calls within 3 rings. I picked up the phone. Duskline Support Center, how can I help you tonight? Marcus Hayes. It was Dr. Voss. I need you to listen very carefully. The security system alerted me that you answered a 3:33 call. I'm sorry, No time. You've opened a door that shouldn't be open. They're coming now. Who's coming? Lock yourself in the break room. There's a red button under the microwave. Push it and wait. Whatever happens, whatever you hear, don't come out until morning. Do you understand? Yes. But now, Marcus. She hung up. As I stood, the lights flickered. Once, twice, then went out completely, leaving me in total darkness except for the dim glow of my computer screen. And somewhere beyond my desk, I heard a door creak open. The darkness was complete except for the blue glow of my phone screen. I grabbed it and moved as quietly as I could toward the break room, guided by the weak light. My foot caught on something, and I stumbled, catching myself against the wall with a thud. A voice called out from the main office area. Marcus? Are you hiding from me? It was Lily's voice, but wrong somehow. Too deep beneath the childish tone. I made it to the break room and closed the door as quietly as possible. My trembling fingers found the lock. Then, feeling blindly in the dark, I located the microwave and ran my hand underneath it. There it was, a small button. I pressed it. Nothing happened. No sound, no light, No cavalry rushing in to save me. Just silence. Then I heard a click from inside the walls, like tumblers falling into place. "Safe room activated," said a mechanical voice through a small speaker I'd never noticed before. "Stand by." The silence that followed was broken by a knock on the break room door. "Marcus?" Lily's voice again. "I want to play. Don't you want to play with me?" I didn't answer. Backed away from the door until I hit the far wall, then slid down to sit on the floor. "I can't reach the doorknob," the voice whined. "Can you open it for me?" I kept silent, clutching my phone. I thought about calling for help, but who would believe me? And what would I even say? The doorknob rattled. "I know you're in there. I can smell you." The rattling stopped. For a moment, I thought whatever was out there had given up. Then came a new voice from the other side of the door. An old woman's voice, frail and frightened. "Please help me. I'm lost. I need to use a phone to call my son. Please." I bit my lip to keep from responding. The voice changed again. This time, it was Jade, the evening shift operator. "Marcus, what are you doing in the break room? There's a call holding. It's important." I squeezed my eyes shut. It wasn't Jade. It couldn't be. "Marcus." Now it was my father's voice. "Open this door right now." The voice cycled through different people, each one pleading, demanding, trying to trick me into opening the door. Each new voice felt like a knife in my chest, but I stayed put. Eventually, the voices stopped. The silence was almost worse. I sat in the dark, afraid to move, afraid to make a sound. My phone showed 4:15 a.m., hours left until morning. I noticed I had a voicemail. It must have come in while I was running to the break room. With shaking fingers, I put the phone to my ear and listened. "Hayes, it's Dr. Voss again. If you're hearing this, you made it to the safe room. Good. What's happening isn't your fault. The rules were designed to prevent this. But now that it's started, you need to know what you're dealing with. The Duskline building sits on a site where two realities touch. At certain times, especially 3:33 a.m., the boundary thins. What comes through isn't. From here. They feed on despair and pain. That's why we set up the hotline, to help people before they're vulnerable to these things. But now that you've answered their call, they've latched onto you. They'll try anything to get to you. Don't trust what you see or hear. Stay in that room until daylight. I'm sending help, but they won't arrive until morning." The voicemail ended. I sat in stunned silence, trying to process what I'd just heard. It sounded crazy, but after what I'd just experienced, I was willing to believe. Time crawled by. 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m. Each minute felt like an hour. At 5:43 a.m., the temperature in the room dropped suddenly. My breath came out in white puffs. The metal fixtures grew a thin layer of frost. Then came the smell. Lilacs. I pressed myself further against the wall, as if I could somehow sink through it to safety. A voice whispered directly into my ear, though there was no one beside me. "Tick-tock, Marcus. The safe room isn't really safe. Nothing is. We've been here all along." The smell of lilacs grew stronger, filling my lungs, making me dizzy. The walls seemed to pulse, as if breathing. The floor beneath me felt like it was tilting. "Stop," I said, my voice cracking. "Leave me alone." "But we're so hungry, Marcus, and you invited us in. That's what happens when you break the rules." The voice was right at my ear, but also coming from the walls, the ceiling, the floor. Everywhere. "I didn't know," I whispered. "Ignorance isn't a defense. But we'll make you a deal. Let us in, and we'll leave everyone else alone. Your dad, your friends from college, little Lily from the phone call, the real one who's still alive. We can find them all, unless you give yourself to us instead." I realized with horror that the voice knew about my life, my real life. It had dug into my mind somehow. "You're lying," I said. You can't hurt them. We can. We will. Starting with your father. He's asleep right now, dreaming of your mother. Should we join him in that dream? Turn it into a nightmare? Stop it, I shouted. Then let us in, Marcus. Just open the door to your mind. It's easier than fighting. I felt a pressure in my head, like a balloon being slowly inflated inside my skull. A fog crept into the edges of my vision. No, I grunted through gritted teeth. Get out of my head. I remembered my training, the techniques for grounding oneself during a dissociative episode. It wasn't the same thing, but it was all I had. I focused on my breathing. In for 4 counts, hold for 7, out for 8. I named 5 things I could see in the dim light from my phone. 4 things I could touch, 3 things I could hear, 2 things I could smell, ignoring the lilacs. 1 thing I could taste. The pressure in my head lessened slightly. The voice hissed. That won't work for long. But I kept at it. Breathing, naming, focusing. Making myself fully present in my body, in this room. And I began to talk. To myself, to the darkness, to whatever was trying to get in. I help people. That's who I am. That's what I'm meant to do. You feed on pain and fear, but I fight against those things. You can't have me. You can't have anyone I help. That's my purpose, and you can't take it away. With each word, I felt stronger. The smell of lilacs faded. The pressure in my head eased. This isn't over, the voice said, more distant now. There will be another 3:33 a.m., another caller, another opportunity. And there will be people like me to stop you, I replied. Silence followed. The temperature in the room slowly returned to normal. The sense of another presence faded away. I stayed in that position, back against the wall, until my phone showed 7 a.m. The first rays of dawn would be breaking outside, though I couldn't see them from the windowless room. At 7:08 a.m., there was a knock on the break room door. Mr. Hayes, this is security. Dr. Voss sent us. I didn't move. We're here to escort you out safely. The building is secure now. Still, I hesitated. Mr. Hayes, please say something so we know you're okay. How do I know you're really security? I called out. There was a pause. Dr. Voss said to tell you this. Rules exist for a reason, but so does the safe room. It seemed like the kind of verification only the real Dr. Voss would provide. Slowly, I got to my feet. My legs were stiff and sore from sitting so long. I approached the door and put my hand on the knob. Stand back from the door, I said. We're back. I unlocked the door and opened it a crack. 2 uniformed security guards stood there, looking concerned but decidedly human. Are you hurt? One of them asked. I shook my head, just scared and confused. They escorted me through the main office, which looked perfectly normal in the morning light. No sign of whatever had been hunting me overnight. The wall clock now matched my watch exactly. Outside, Dr. Voss was waiting by a black SUV. Get in, she said. We need to talk. I hesitated. I'm not sure I want to be involved with whatever this is anymore. She gave me a sad smile. You already are involved, Marcus. You answered at 3:33. That creates a connection they can follow. We can help you manage it, but you can't just walk away. So what happens now? Now you learn the real rules, not just the ones we give to beginners. You learn why we do what we do. And you help us save people from things much worse than suicide. And if I say no, thank you. Her smile faded. Then you're on your own when 3:33 a.m. comes around again. And believe me, they'll be waiting. I looked back at the dusk-lined building. In daylight, it looked ordinary. Just an old office building. But I knew what lurked there when darkness fell. Fine, I said. Teach me the real rules. She nodded and opened the car door. There's just one more thing you should know. What? You did well last night. Better than most first-timers who answer at 3:33. You fought back. That's rare. Thanks, I guess. Don't thank me yet. It means they'll try harder next time. They don't like being denied. As I got into the car, I realized my life had changed forever. The comfortable certainties I'd built my world around had crumbled in a single night, replaced by rules I didn't fully understand and enemies I couldn't see. Dr. Voss drove us to a small diner on the edge of town, the kind of place with vinyl booths and waitresses who call you honey. At 7:30 a.m., it was nearly empty. "You must be hungry," she said as we slid into a booth. I hadn't thought about food, but my stomach growled in response. A waitress brought coffee without being asked, nodding at Dr. Voss like they knew each other. "Regular or special blend today, Amelia?" "Special, please, for both of us." The waitress returned with 2 steaming mugs of dark coffee that smelled like cinnamon and something else I couldn't identify. "Drink," Dr. Voss instructed. "It helps clear your head after an encounter." I sipped cautiously. The coffee tasted better than it smelled, warm and soothing. Almost immediately, the fog of fear that had clung to me since the night began started to lift. "What is this?" "Old family recipe. Some herbs, some spices, nothing fancy. But effective." She waited until I'd finished half the mug before speaking again. "What do you know about liminal spaces, Marcus? Like thresholds? In-between places?" She nodded. The word comes from the Latin limen, meaning threshold. Places that exist between one state and another. Doorways, crossroads, midnight, twilight. She paused. 3:33 a.m. The halfway point of night, I realized. Exactly. And what we do at Duskline, our real work, is to guard one of these thresholds. We're not just a suicide prevention hotline, though that part is genuine. We help people in crisis because it strengthens them against what waits on the other side. And what exactly waits on the other side? Her face darkened. Things without names. Hungry things. They feed on despair, hopelessness, grief, all the emotions that bring people to the edge. You're talking about them like they're demons or something. Call them what you want. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that they're real, and they want in. The building where you work sits on a weak point between realities. A tear in the fabric, if you like. Those rules you've been following? They're not corporate protocol. They're protective measures. The waitress brought plates of bacon and eggs. Dr. Voss waited until she was gone before continuing. Rule 1. Answer within 3 rings. 3 is a powerful number. By answering before the 4th ring, you establish control over the conversation. Rule 2. Always use the exact greeting. Words have power, especially in liminal spaces. The specific phrasing acts as a ward. Rule 3. Never give your full name. Names have power too. Your full name could be used against you. Rule 4. Check your personal watch, not the office clock. Time distorts near the threshold. Your personal watch stays connected to our reality. Rule 5. Calls from Aspen Road need to be transferred to Extension 5. Aspen Road doesn't exist in our town. If someone claims to be calling from there, they're not human. Rule 6. Hang up on silent callers after 30 seconds. They're trying to form a connection, to locate you. The longer you stay on the line, the stronger the connection becomes. Rule 7. The smell of lilacs means they're getting close. End the call immediately and use the sprays we keep in the desk drawers. Rule 8. Never answer at 3:33 a.m. That's when the barrier is thinnest. They can come through or pull you through. I pushed my barely touched food away. Why didn't you tell me any of this before hiring me? Would you have believed me? Would you have taken the job? No, probably not. Exactly. We ease people into it. First, just follow the rules. Then, if you're suitable, we explain why. Most operators never break Rule 8, so they never have to know the full truth. But I broke it. She nodded gravely. You answered at 3:33. That created a link between you and them. They know your name now. They've gotten a taste of you. So what happens to me? My voice sounded small, even to my own ears. That depends on you. You have 3 options. She held up one finger. First, you run. Change your name, move across the country, never answer a phone at 3:33 a.m. again. It might work, at least for a while. A second finger joined the first. Second, you quit. Try to forget what happened. Live a normal life until they find you. And they will find you. Eventually. Third finger. Or you stay with us. Learn to protect yourself, help others, fight back. Is that what you did? Option 3? She rolled up her sleeve to reveal a strange branching scar running from her wrist to her elbow. I answered at 3:33 my first week. 16 years ago. I'm still here. How many others are there? People like us? More than you'd think. Less than we need. I stared into my coffee cup, watching the dark liquid swirl. Part of me wanted to run and never look back. But another part, the part that had always wanted to help people, knew I couldn't. If I stay, what happens next? You keep working the night shift. You follow the rules, all the rules, including some new ones I'll teach you. You learn to protect yourself, and when you're ready, you'll help train the next person. And these things, can they be stopped? Not permanently, but they can be held back. That's what we do, night after night. We hold the line. I took a deep breath. Okay, I'm in. Dr. Voss smiled, but there was no joy in it. Then your real training begins tonight. Be at the office at 10 p.m. Wear comfortable clothes. Bring something personal that gives you strength. A photo, a keepsake, whatever works for you. What about the day shift? Doesn't someone need to monitor the phones? The day shift is just a regular hotline. The threshold only activates at night. She checked her watch. Go home, get some rest. You'll need it. As we left the diner, the sun was fully up, painting the world in warm, reassuring light. People walked by, going about their normal lives, completely unaware of what lurked in the spaces between. One last question, I said, as Dr. Voss unlocked her car. Why me? Why hire someone with no experience? She gave me a long look. When you applied, you wrote that you wanted to help people find hope in their darkest moments. That's exactly what we need. People who bring light to darkness. She paused. And your background check showed resilience. You faced loss, struggled, survived. The broken ones are always better at this job. They've seen the edge and stepped back. I thought about my mother leaving, the years of loneliness, the struggle through college. My so-called weaknesses were actually qualifications for this bizarre job. Get some sleep, Marcus. Tomorrow night, you learn how to fight back. But sleep didn't come easily. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Lily's voice calling my name. I dreamed of lilacs and ringing phones and doorways that shouldn't be opened. When my alarm went off at 8 p.m., I was already awake, staring at the ceiling. I showered, dressed in jeans and a comfortable sweater, and rummaged through my drawer for something personal that gave me strength. My fingers closed around a smooth stone, a worry stone Ms. Winters had given me in high school. When the world gets too loud, she'd said, hold this and remember you're grounded. I arrived at the Duskline building at 9:55 p.m. The night felt different now that I knew what was out there. Every shadow seemed deeper, every sound sharper. Dr. Voss was waiting in the office with Jade and a man I hadn't met before. He was tall and thin, with silver hair and round glasses. Marcus, this is Ellis. He works the night shift at our other location across town. Ellis shook my hand. His grip was surprisingly strong. Welcome to the real job, he said. Heard you had quite a first night. You could say that. Dr. Voss clapped her hands. Right, let's get started. Ellis, take the phones for the first hour. Jade, monitor. Marcus, you're with me. She led me to the break room, the same room where I'd spent those terrifying hours the night before. But now, with the lights on and other people nearby, it seemed ordinary. Dr. Voss pressed the red button under the microwave. This time, a panel in the wall slid open, revealing a narrow staircase leading down. Did that always lead somewhere? I asked. The safe room is more than just a room, she replied, starting down the stairs. Come on. The staircase led to a basement I hadn't known existed. The space was large and surprisingly well lit, with white walls covered in symbols I didn't recognize. Tables lined the walls, holding books, jars of dried plants, and various objects I couldn't identify. In the center of the room was a circle drawn on the floor, surrounded by more symbols. This is our training room, Dr. Voss explained, and our last line of defense if anything ever fully breaks through upstairs. What are all these symbols? Protection wards, some ancient, some newer. We take what works from whatever tradition offers it. She directed me to sit in the circle. Take out your personal item. I pulled the worry stone from my pocket. Good, hold it tight. She sat across from me. Close your eyes. Think about a door in your mind. See it clearly, its color, its texture, the handle. I did as instructed, picturing a solid wooden door with a brass knob. That door leads to your innermost self, the part of you they tried to reach last night. In our work, you must learn to guard that door, to lock it when needed, to recognize when something is trying to pick the lock. For the next hour, Dr. Voss guided me through mental exercises, visualizing protective barriers, recognizing intrusions, strengthening my mental door. It was exhausting in a way physical exercise never was, but I began to understand the technique. The stone helps, I said during a break. It feels like an anchor. That's the idea. Physical objects from our world help keep you grounded when they try to pull you into theirs. Everyone has something different. I use this. She touched a locket around her neck. My grandmother's. She knew about thresholds too. How long has this been going on? This? Guarding? As long as there have been thresholds. As long as there have been hungry things wanting to cross them. Every culture has its version of us, different methods, same purpose. We practiced for another hour before rejoining Jade and Ellis upstairs. The phones had been quiet. Now, Dr. Voss said, the real training begins. Your shift starts in 30 minutes. Tonight you answer calls, but Jade will monitor everything. If anything unusual happens, she takes over. You observe and learn. What about the 333 call? Will it come again? Almost certainly, they'll be looking for you, but we'll be ready. She handed me a small spray bottle filled with clear liquid. Lilac repellent. If you smell them, use this immediately. 3 sprays in the air around you. I pocketed the bottle, along with my worry stone. Anything else I should know? Dr. Voss and Ellis exchanged glances. Tell him, Ellis said. She sighed. There's something we haven't told you yet. About Lily. The child who called? Or whatever was pretending to be a child. Both, actually. There was a real Lily. She called our hotline 3 years ago. Her mother was being attacked by an intruder. We dispatched help, but... Dr. Voss hesitated. We were too late. Both Lily and her mother died that night. I felt sick. So whatever I talked to was using her voice, her story, to get to you. They do that. Use the dead to reach the living, especially the ones who died in fear or pain. That's horrible. That's why we fight, Ellis said simply. For the lilies of the world, the ones we can save and the ones we couldn't. The next few hours passed quietly. I took calls as instructed, with Jade beside me, ready to intervene. Most were routine, people in crisis, but normal, human crisis. No special rules needed to be invoked. At 3:15 a.m., the atmosphere in the office changed. The air felt heavier. The lights seemed dimmer, though they hadn't actually changed. "It's starting," Jade whispered. "The thinning." Dr. Voss and Ellis took positions by the main door, holding what looked like spray bottles similar to mine, but larger. "Remember your training," Dr. Voss called to me. "Guard your door." 3:30 a.m. My heart was pounding despite my efforts to stay calm. I gripped my worry stone, feeling its smooth surface under my thumb. 3:32 a.m. The phone lines went completely silent. No static, no dial tone, just absence. 3:33 a.m. The phone rang. We all remained still, letting it ring. 1 ring, 2 rings, 3 rings, 4 rings. After the 7th ring, it stopped. For a moment, relief washed over me. Then all 4 phones in the office began ringing simultaneously. "Don't answer!" Dr. Voss shouted. "It's a trick!" The ringing stopped as suddenly as it had started. The clock ticked over to 3:34 a.m. "Is it over?" I asked. A voice answered from the empty air. "It's never over, Marcus." The smell of lilacs filled the room. I fumbled for my spray bottle, but before I could use it, the lights went out. In the darkness, something moved. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. A presence circling us, like a predator sizing up its prey. "Stay in the circle," Dr. Voss commanded. She and Ellis had formed a circle with Jade and me inside it. "Your circle can't hold us back forever," the voice said. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "We've tasted him now. We have his scent." "You have nothing," Dr. Voss replied firmly. "He is protected. This place is protected. Return to your side." A low laugh rippled through the darkness. "Such confidence, Amelia, but you know better. How many have you lost over the years? How many weren't strong enough?" "Not this one," she said. "Now go." The presence moved closer. I felt a cold spot pass by my face, like someone breathing on me in freezing weather. "Marcus," it whispered, in Lily's voice again. "Don't you want to help me? I'm so scared, so alone." I closed my eyes, even though the room was already dark. I pictured my door, solid, strong, locked. I clutched my worry stone. "You can't have me," I said. "You can't have anyone here." A hiss of frustration, then the voice changed again. This time it was my mother's voice, a voice I barely remembered. "Marcus, baby, it's Mom. I've missed you so much." My heart clenched. For a moment, the door in my mind cracked open. Just a hair. "Don't listen," Jade warned. "It's not her." I knew that. Of course I knew that. But the voice was so perfect, so achingly familiar. "I'm sorry I left, sweetie. I want to make it up to you. I want to come home." Dr. Voss began to chant something in a language I didn't recognize. Ellis joined in, their voices blending together in rhythm. The thing with my mother's voice screamed in anger. The temperature in the room plummeted. My breath came out in white puffs. I squeezed the worry stone so hard my fingers hurt. "You're not my mother. My mother is gone. You can't use her against me." Another scream, inhuman this time. The darkness seemed to thicken, swirling around us like black water. Dr. Voss and Ellis continued chanting, louder now. Jade joined in, her voice adding a higher counterpoint to their bass tones. I didn't know the words, but I could feel their effect. The darkness retreated, inch by inch. The cold receded. The smell of lilacs faded. With a final wail of rage, the presence vanished. The lights flickered back on. We stood there, a group of exhausted people in a circle of hastily drawn symbols on the office floor. Symbols I hadn't even noticed them making in the dark. "Is everyone okay?" Dr. Voss asked. We nodded, too drained to speak. "It was stronger this time," Ellis said. "Focused. Usually they're more scattered, trying to affect anyone they can reach. This one wanted Marcus specifically." "Because I answered," I said. "I gave it a way in." Yes, Dr. Voss confirmed. But you also fought back, both times now. That's why we need you. I looked around at these people, strangers days ago, now bound to me by this bizarre battle. Will it get easier? Jade gave a short laugh. No, not easier, but you get stronger, more prepared. They'll be back tomorrow night? Maybe, Ellis said. Maybe not. They can't manifest every night. It takes energy, but they'll try again soon. And we'll be ready, Dr. Voss added. All of us, together. As we cleaned up the office for the day shift, I realized I'd made my choice without really thinking about it. I could have run after that first night. I could run now. But I wouldn't. Some doors, once opened, can't be closed again. All you can do is guard them, to protect those who don't even know the doors exist. I pocketed my worry stone and headed out into the dawn. Tomorrow night, I'd be back. Tomorrow night, I'd answer the phones at the Duskline Support Center, and I'd follow the rules, every single one of them.